give it a go. Hello and welcome. For some reason, things just aren't quite working today. It's fine. It's summer for my recording stuff also. And I know, it annoys me too when people do this when they start their live streams, but here we are. Something feels wrong. Maybe if someone could put something in the chat that things are working. Let me do a test thing. Okay. The test chat worked, so we're gonna go with it. Volume's a little low. Okay, I can fix that. Hey, Fred. And this is working too. Great. Okay. Hello, welcome to today's live stream. We are doing office hours, we're answering questions, and that's what we do every Tuesday at noon. So, my name is Tracy Lenz, I'm a petroleum engineer, and I'm the owner of Pecan Tree. We are an appraisal firm, we are an engineering firm, and we're a small team of people just trying to help you understand what you own. So, great. So, sounds like audio is better. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. That stuff's easy to fix like while I'm going, but then afterwards I'll hear that I was low or something and like, darn, could have fixed that. Okay. So we're just going to jump into questions today because I feel bad that I went and looked to see if I had any videos from YouTube or any questions from YouTube, like the comment section of like prior live streams or prior Q&As or other videos. And then I felt really bad when I saw a bunch of them that I hadn't gotten to. So I try to get to all of them. But yes, Fred, I did see yours in the email. And I do have that one on my list today. So we will definitely get to that one. If anyone else watching this has a question, go ahead and either put it in the chat or you can email it to, we're going to change the Kelly queue to the Tracy queue because she is out of town again today. So we do have full-time people with our company. I've gotten the question, like, is this what you do, like, full-time? Like, well, yes and no. Like, I don't make YouTube videos full-time, for sure. We're not even monetized yet. But we do, this is what I do full-time, petroleum engineering. Let's see. The team is doing awesome. A lot of them are out today. So if I seem a little scatterbrained, that's a little why. This is the first time I've talked out loud other than to an 8-year-old. So my brain's kind of remembering what talking is like, which is just weird. Most of the time these days, it's just nonstop calls and meetings and talking. And by the end of the day, I'm just kind of done talking. And yesterday at dinner, I was really talkative with my husband at dinner. And that happens quite often. I'm just a talkative person when I'm one-on-one. But I was especially talkative, and I was like, that's weird. I thought I was much more tired than this. And then I realized, I hadn't actually had a conversation all day. it was only, talking. My daughter was home yesterday, and so it's like, well, do you want lunch? Okay, here, let me make you lunch. Like, that was my conversation. And so I was like, adult conversation. So this is what it's like when I don't have meetings all day long. The energy I have left. So, okay. Let me I put them in PowerPoint, like I do, because it's easier. It's just easier. I'm a PowerPoint person. I think anyone in this industry is very much a Microsoft Office ecosystem person. I tried to be a Mac person for a while, and I don't know if I just wasn't cool enough or what, but it didn't work. Okay. PowerPoint. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, I can make it a little better. There. Okay, so Fred, here's your question. Tell us what the difference, let me get rid of this thing. What the difference on these two lines of the contract would mean to you. This is from a royalty deed from the early 1900s. So the grantee, so, okay, first, just for anyone new here, Fred, I'm sure you've heard it 5,000 times at this point, but for anyone new here, I'm an engineer, not a lawyer, not an attorney. I'm not interpreting law. I'm not giving recommendations. I'm not even doing engineering for you. I'm just giving free advice on the internet. This is with very little context to any of these questions, and should be used as a starting point for what you plan on doing, not a end all be all. So now that that's out of the way. Okay. This is a royalty deed. So this is the document that conveys a property from one person to another when it's a royalty type of property. So same as if you sold a house, there's title that's filed with the county. This is the royalty side of it. So the grantee, an undivided 1/8 interest in and to all of the oil and gas and other minerals, versus all future leases executed by the grantor herein under this power, a royalty of not less than 1/64 of the oil and gas produced and saved shall be reserved for the benefit of the grantee herein, but all bonuses and delay rentals payable under all existing and future leases shall belong to the grantor. Okay, so both of these, I'll start with similarities. Both of these are just the royalties, so it wouldn't include the lease bonus for both of these. Well, no. Actually, I changed my answer on that one. The first one is not specific enough to say it's only royalties. That one could be minerals, honestly. I mean, it says in other minerals. So that one, the owners could have a interest in the royalties. They could even have negotiating power in that. That could be a full-out mineral interest. It really depends on anything else that's in that deed. While the second one, as we can tell by all the many more words, is very much more specific in saying that this is just the royalties that are produced from the minerals, and does not include bonuses or delay rentals, which is the stuff that happens before the royalties come in. So that wouldn't be paid out to the person who received this interest, but then once the well started paying, it would. So the reason, okay, also let's hit another similarity that looks like a difference, but actually is a similarity. In terms of the amount of money that is paid for every dollar that is produced, let's say that $1 of oil comes out of the ground. Let's say that the units for oil was dollars. If $1 of oil came out of the ground, then 1/8 would be owned by this first owner, but that's before it's leased. So there's normally it'd be 1/8 of the interest, and then it's normally leased at 1/8 after that. So a 1/64, right? So the first one is equivalent to, you'd be getting 64 hundredths. No. That is the wrong, scratch that. That's the problem doing this live. When I say things like 64 hundredths, that's not, okay. 1/64 of the mineral interest, which is going to be the same as 1/8 of 1/8. Then that's what you would actually receive in a check if it was leased. Now, the person in the first, so for some differences here. Because that's really all with it just being one sentence on the first. That's really, I guess there's also the similarity that they're both for the oil, gas, and other minerals. No, actually, okay. Similarity, oil and gas is included in both. Difference, the first one includes other minerals. The second one only mentions oil and gas. So let's say this lithium stuff that's coming up. That has been under discussion as to these ones that say and other minerals, if that's included or not. The first one could be interpreted to be included. The second one doesn't mention that it's not included, but if it's not mentioned, it usually means it's not. So that's another difference. Okay, now we'll hit the real sticky one, which is the fixed versus floating interest. Let's say that the first one has one or two more sentences around it that it's all in the same contract. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Fred says this is all in the same contract. Okay. Okay, well, all still applies. It's what is being addressed. So okay. We will switch the context now to be all in the same contract. So the second line, the first line is the part saying, I am granting this to you. And it could mean, as we mentioned before, it could mean a mineral interest, it could mean a royalty, it could mean a lot of things, because that is just the amount that they're giving. The second line is, or the verses part, is saying specifically what they are putting. Now, we are still going to go to the fixed versus floating, because that is a thing here. So because the second part is clarifying the first part rather than A versus B, we know that the grantor, Father John, did not want to give bonuses and delay rentals to this, cousin Al, we'll just say. That was not deeded, while the 1/8 of the 1/8 was. But the part where it says a royalty of not less than 1/64th, that is saying, hey, right now, things are normally leased at 1/8. And because I'm giving you 1/8 of something that's typically leased at 1/8, then you're going to get a royalty of at least 1/64th when all's said and done, because we're going to lease it, because you can't control that. I'm controlling that, or whoever owns that part of it will be leasing it for you. But, and here's the fixed versus floating, if it said a royalty of 1/64th, or if it said a royalty of 1/8 of 1/8 or something like that, then that would be a fixed, potentially fixed scenario, while not less than 1/64th gives that interpretation of, hey, right now, normally it's 1/8, but we don't know what the future will hold. So we're going to say that you're going to at least get that much, and you might get something different in the future, but it has to be more. So if right now it's normal to lease at 1/8, but in the future, 1/16th was common, which is less for those not as comfortable with fractions. Let's say that less money per dollar was more common in the future, which it went the opposite direction. But if it were, then it would have locked it in place back in the day. You would still get your 1/8. But because things have gone up, you're now typically a 1/4, a 3/8, something like that. You're going to at least get that times your 1/8, or you're going to at least get 1/8 times 1/8, and you might get more. So if it's leased in the future, let's say this is from the early 1900s, and in 1950 it was leased at, we'll go further in the 2010, it was leased at 25%. Then most likely this would be interpreted as 1/8 of the 25% royalty. So 1/4. So so you get 1/32 of all the oil and gas produced rather than 1/64 in that case. So that's, I think that's all I can really interpret from here. So hopefully that, yeah, I think that's all I can get from this. Yep, hopefully that helps. Okay, next question. Okay, this is off of I think last week's video actually. Is it worth or a good idea to join NARO? I assume with wells, which they have an NPRI, which is a all I can think of as non-producing. Usually it's net. I know what it means. It's, yeah. They're similar to the same terminology as the prior one, where you wouldn't be able to lease and control it. There's other things with NPRI, but that's the basics. In Tyler County, West Virginia, it would be the Appalachian group they're asking. So I did pull up, get NARO home. Oh. I switched over the desktop and switched it to the one that wasn't it. Yeah, I don't know why it's so small. Okay. Fred, thank you. That helps for sure. Good caveat on the legal issues around this. You're welcome. There's actually a lot of conversation still for the fixed versus floating. Pat Long-Weaver gave an update at it on this last NARO event. So she'd be a good one to probably reach out to if you had something high value or Texas. Okay, so NARO, in case you're not familiar, NARO is the National Association of Royalty Owners, and I ended up getting involved quite a bit with NARO just because it was the first organization that I found when I started looking for non-participating royalty interest. Thank you. Yes, the non-participating. My brain went to that you didn't have interest in the well, but it's that you don't have interest in the leasing. You're not, the net profits, and that's a different thing entirely. And, again, my brain's not totally awake, but luckily, not many people watch this part of the live. Hey, Crystal. Oh my gosh. My dog just came in from outside and she likes to lay in the sun. But she's a husky, so she's really warm. All right. Yeah, so NARO, there's a lot of organizations that I don't like. They're just unnecessary, or it's only if you're really in it, like your company is an oil and gas company, or you have a lot of minerals. Some of them might be good to be involved in, just so that you're aware of what's going on, or maybe you need to influence bills or laws or rules, things that would help keep the balance between the industry and the regulators, or the industry and the mineral owners. Then maybe, but National Association of Royalty Owners is more of an educational society, but also it does represent the royalty owners on the legislative. And I went into this a couple videos ago when we just got back from the Royalty Association meeting. We were, it was one of our big events a couple weeks ago that we were at. So I've gone to a lot of these at this point, and I really like them. I like the people. I think that they do a good job at educating. The events themselves tend to be a little high dollar. for, I mean, at least for my tastes. But they end up being a nice vacation once a year for mineral owners. That's kind of what they're going for, is this is a vacation event that you happen to learn at. And so they have them at nice places. So the tickets end up being a little high because of that. But they have webinars, and joining is not that expensive if you're not a business person. So I'm a business person, so mine is a little more expensive, but if you're not, it's not as bad. It kind of more depends on how much you have, I think, is how they charge. They do have the Appalachia, I believe some people say. I have never had to think about how I say that word, so I say Appalachia. But there is an Appalachia chapter of NARO. It's not super active. They are looking for a president for it right now, unless they just haven't updated unless they found one and they just haven't updated things. They're still looking for a president. And then if you look at their Facebook, the last update was 2022, like almost 4 years ago. But there is stuff that's being posted. You can go follow the NARO Appalachia. There's also things that apply to all of those states in that area, that you could, if you want to be a more active part of it, or honestly, a lot of these smaller chapters, most of their stuff is online anyway. So even if you're not local, the thing that I really like about NARO is the resources. So they have a lot of webinars on topics, and then if you can't get to that topic, they'll record it and you can get to it later. And so, oil and gas geology 101, Oklahoma activity update, meet your president. There's how to review your royalty statement, benefit of 1031 exchanges. There's a lot of topics that they cover that are relevant to owners in almost every part of the country. So those online webinars are very useful, and they're usually taught by pretty good instructors and industry professionals. Now, not everyone is as charismatic as I am. What can I say? But it's good topics, and you can always put it on like 3x speed if you're like my brother and like to watch everything 3x speed. I don't know how he does that. 1.5 speed is usually about as fast as I can go. Sometimes 2, if the person is just really drawing it out. Crystal's joining. But yeah, so they have those, and then they also have supporter directory, frequently asked questions, the Mineral Rights Forum. A lot of y'all found me on the Mineral Rights Forum, so I don't think I need to explain too much about that, but that's a good old-fashioned online forum. You can ask questions on it. It is independent from NARO, but it's run by one of the directors, so it's very it's like close cousins. So not under the same household, but they're over at each other's house all the time type of thing. They also have the mineral management program. So if you are managing your family's minerals and want to, I guess have some type of stamp or certification for that, they have a certified mineral manager program, which you can study for, take the test, and get, there's continuing education credits and such. Yeah, and then they also have a monthly royalty? What does ROAR stand for? It's like royalty. I'm just going to open it. It's something very obvious once I open it. Royalty Owner Action Report. There we go. So this is like a nice summary of anything that you might need to keep up with for your area. So here's Matt Sands as the current president, and then there's usually a note from each chapter president on what's going on in their area. So yeah, I think it is usually worth it. But again, if you only have, a fraction of an acre, then you don't want to, you might not know that it's not worth much. Maybe this is just really interesting to you. I'm not going to say what you can't learn. But there might be more economic ways to learn about it if you don't have enough to make the annual fee worth it. But if you can, I think it is worth it. Okay. I'll go to This none zip 0 asks, we got a call from someone wanting to buy our mineral rights, which we didn't know we owned, inherited from family. Where do we start? Do we need to change it into our name? We want to find out more before considering selling. Always a good. I like where your head is on learning more before you sell. I've just seen it happen too many times where someone gets contacted out of the blue. They're like, well, I didn't know I had it before, and now I have $50,000. This is amazing. And you know the story. If it's worth $50,000 from a cold call in the middle, you didn't even know you had it, then how much do you think it's actually worth if you were to properly research it and market it, right? And there's a reason that makes sense for them to find you. So, yeah, always find out more. Good job finding out more. So you're in the right place. Where do you start? So the first place to start would be researching the county where the minerals are. So if you live in New York and you're contacted by someone saying you own minerals in West Texas or you own minerals in Kansas, then go find, and you can do this online. Start online, find the county clerk. So just type county name clerk or county name state and clerk or recorder. States call it different things sometimes, but you're looking for the county clerk and you're looking for the office of like records, like deeds. When you sell a house in that county, who do you have to tell that this deed is transferring from one person to another? Because that's the best place to start with research. You want to be able to verify this, and that's usually a free or very low cost way to do that. The other good idea is whoever's offering you that, ask them a lot of questions. So get as much information from that person offering you this deal as possible, because they did the research. They apparently know this stuff. They should be able to hand off as much as possible to you, because they should understand that you're getting over this hurdle of understanding that you own this thing you didn't think you owned. And most people would react the exact same way, saying like, what? This is yeah, okay. And there's a prince wanting to give me money also, right? Like this is a common thing where they're having to get over this hurdle. So they should be willing to provide you with as much information, as much help to get you up to speed as fast as possible. So that plus the county records, those two in tandem, you can verify what they're saying and you can get to what they're saying faster. Ask them for original documents even, like say, hey, do you have a copy of that deed that shows that starts it off going my direction? And then you can look through the genealogy and ancestry to say, hey, does that even make sense what they're saying? Like, is that my actual grandma, or is that someone who had the same name and that's not my grandma because she never lived in Missouri? Like, I've seen things where like, I don't think this was you. I think this was someone with a different, like their grandma had the same name as someone, but like everything else didn't line up except for the name, and I think they just found the wrong person. Now, if that were to happen, the diligence does lean on the buyer. So now ethically different topic, but assuming you signed all the right terms, you probably wouldn't be, they couldn't come back and say, actually, you didn't own that. We need our money back. You could sign it and say, hey, whatever I actually do own, you're buying for this much, regardless of if I own it or not. And most people would sign that. Now, if you need to change it into your name, that's where contacting a landman or attorney in that state would be useful. It's probably just, or even it's probably a landman that's contacting you. And if it's not producing, if there's not royalties attached to it yet, then that would be just a matter of filing with the county. And it might be just that they need your address, like how to contact you. It might be that they need a will probated, or they need an affidavit of heirship, or like something filed with the county to like link it to you, to chain that title from the original owner all the way down the chain to you. because that's how the companies will find you if once they start leasing in the area, if it's not already leased. And that's also how the companies will verify that you're the right owner once wells start paying. So that needs to be like locked up, like nicely chained, like go from A to B to B to C, C to D. Every person in the line needs to be trackable in county records. And sometimes you can like do one big document that says, here's all the stuff at the beginning, here's how it goes from point A to point B, here's all the things that support that, just to lay it out and make it really clear for anyone going through county records. Like that's that a stipulation of interest? There's something like that where you're kind of like stating what you think for clarity, and I mean, ultimately chaining it is the thing that they need to do. But yeah, so file, like go to the county, change it in your name in the county. Don't worry about any other registries, or I think Oklahoma's particularly bad about this. Oh, you need to register on this registry, this mineral owners registry. Don't worry about that. You don't need that. Only the county. That's the only place that matters. Okay, sorry. The other place that matters is the person sending checks. So make sure they know how to reach you also. So if this person says, oh yeah, there's wells paying and everything, like they just haven't known who to send the payment to, your money's in suspense, then you should contact that company and also tell them how to find you and get it into your name with them. But the county stuff will be needed for that part. So maybe do both at the same time. Once I usually recommend waiting for things to be out of suspense. If there's money that a company is looking for the person to pay, wait until it's out of suspense, because then you'll know how much you're selling. Because I've seen a very wide range of payments that are sitting around waiting. Similar to if I said, oh, the state of Louisiana has some old bills that I overpaid and they owe me some money on, or, you know, some fee that I got back, and I'm the state unclaimed funds. I'm selling my interest in the state unclaimed funds. My first question would be, how much is in unclaimed funds before I sell it? Even though you could assume that it's in a certain ballpark, if you go and look on the state unclaimed funds records, there's very wide ranges of how much is unclaimed per person. And that is exactly what's happening here. There's unclaimed property that this buyer found and is asking if they can buy it from you. But what might have happened, and this is something you can search up right now, even if you're just a regular mineral owner who everything is filed correctly, you can go to the state where your minerals are, the state where your ancestors lived, and I would also check the state of where the company, if there was an operator operating on your land, if they were not based in that state and they were like their LLC or their incorporation was in Delaware, check that state also. So you should have 3 states potentially, possibly more if the person moved around a lot, or if you have different states. Check their unclaimed funds listing to see if your name or your ancestor's name are on that. Because if there's this part that's been lost, there might have been other pieces that have been lost along the way, and that would be a place where you could recover funds. And, you know, if you didn't recover those funds and you sold the interest, normally it's really common that in this deed that this person is wanting you to sign, it says something like, if there's unclaimed funds or money in suspense, you're also selling that. Like, it will specifically say that in the deed. So check out all those things before you sell it, is really what I'm saying. Okay. I should have brought some water. Oh, hi, Mary. How are you? You're not late. You are perfectly on time. Welcome. Okay, so Mary, I am going through all the questions that I found on YouTube videos that I've asked, hey, if you have a question, put it in the YouTube comments here and I'll get to it. And then I try to get to all of them and I totally forgot to check this one place where it lists it, and I've found a bunch. So I'm going through those. If you have a question, feel free to pop one in the chat. If you're joining from earlier, you can also email tracy@pecantreeog.com. Just let me know that you did email it if you want to ask something more involved or more, you want to be more anonymous, I guess. Okay. So Kim Russ asks, I don't know, I'm guessing a no is, I don't know things about my royalty acres. It's exciting but overwhelming. Should I be careful what I ask the landman? They're wanting to buy my land. Can I see any of my grandma's statements if she got, can I see any of my grandma's statements she got if she is deceased? Definitely terrible gaming. We will get to that one soon. Okay. So on this one, can I see any of my grandma's statements she got if she's deceased? Trying to think if there's any like workarounds. You can go to, so no, you really can't unless you can prove that you are, okay. Yes and no. Like most things, yes and no. Yes, if you can prove to the company who is sending the statements that you are now the owner of that interests, then that they should be able to at least help you out a little bit and get you a login to Energy Link or something, copy of like one or two to like get you caught up a little bit. Most likely not. It's just they're really busy. Honestly, it's sometimes hard to get a response when it's not like life or death. I mean, no, sorry. Poor wording. When it's not lots of money involved. That's probably better wording, right? So seeing the statements directly from the operator that details out the exact wells and deductions and volumes, probably not, unless you can get a hold of her Energy Link account or whatever platform that operator uses to get the statement to you. A lot of them are using Energy Link, which is an Embarrass company, but they've all decided and through acquisitions that most of them use that. There's also Mineral Answers has they do cover, I think, 50 to 100 companies also with a similar platform. So there's that way. But if you don't have that, let's say that you're still trying to establish that you are the same person, that you are an heir of her interest, then you could go to, if it's in a state like Texas that has ad valorem tax, which is the county tax that's levied on producing properties, you could go to the county, and it's the Central Appraisal District, so the CAD. So you can just Google the county name, CAD, and that should get you to that county's website. And then there's usually a place at the bottom of the front page on most of these that say mineral roll or mineral appraisals or a mineral notices, something like that. And you can search for her name in that. And usually there's a couple years history listed on those sites. So you can get it that way. If it's not a detailed statement, but it's at least a yearly like listing of what she owed for taxes. Like it's something. You might be able to get 1099s, historical 1099s that she had to pay for taxes through the operator. But again, you'd have to have access to all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's the only way really to get that stuff. Should I be careful what I ask the landman? Is there anything I wouldn't ask a landman? Let me think. I wouldn't ask, what should I sell it for? I don't know if that's obvious or not, but I wouldn't ask that. I think I would ask, like, questions about it. Do you have this? Can you tell me more about this? What do you think is happening here? Who do you work for? All those types of questions, great questions. I don't think you need to ask, should I sell it? How much should I sell it for? Because they'll answer, they'll provide you an answer, but you're just asking for a bias answer. So it's like, do you really want that clouding your judgment? Like someone who gets a direct commission off of selling. It's like if I went to CarMax and said, should I buy this car? How much should I buy this car from you for? I can definitely do that, but it's not going to be helpful. And it kind of just shows your cards that you don't know. And I don't know if I would be careful on too many. I wouldn't ask, even if you're unsure if you're going to sell or not, I would try to not show that card if I was unsure if I was going to sell or not, because that can really not spook a landman that's trying to sell, or buy, I should say. Not spook them, but discourage them from paying attention to you, I guess. It's kind of like going to we'll just use the car dealership thing again. Like going to the car dealership and saying, oh, I didn't bring my wallet today, I'm just looking around. Like they're not really going to negotiate with you at that point, because there's other people who aren't like wanting to buy and sell. And their time is very important to them when you work on commission. So yeah, I think those two things would all I really be careful on. I'm sure there's bad actors out there that, don't give your address. Make sure to verify things that they're saying, like safety things, right? Be safe. But let's assume people are at least not like murderous criminals. There's definitely financial crooks out there. But let's just say they're safe people or just might want to take your money. It's that. Otherwise, just pretend like you're at CarMax or you're selling your house and don't do anything you wouldn't do then. Okay. Mary asks, I'll go to here. Oh. Well, actually, okay. Definitely terrible gaming. I'll go ahead and answer this one. What is the difference between a net royalty acre versus a net mineral acre? I'm still confused on that. So a net royalty acre, if you want to think of that like getting everything apples to apples, when, as we went through in the very first question we answered, how you might have an interest but you don't get these things, or it's, different lease rates and things change the value even for an interest in the exact same section. A net mineral acre says, okay, I have, let's see, it's hard without visuals. I'm such a visual person. I want to have my graphs and I don't really have like things in front of me. But if we're looking at stock, I like to go back to my stock example when it comes to net versus gross and royalty versus net mineral. So if we're looking at the company Google, right? They have stocks, shares that you can buy on the market, right? So if I own 10 shares of Google, I don't own all of Google. I own a very small percentage of Google, but I own that small percentage of all of it, right? It's not like a closet that I own at Google. I own a small piece of all of it. So if they make money, I make money. I just make that fractional little amount of any money they make all across the company. So if we want to get from gross acres to net acres, that is what we want to think of it like, because most of these interests are undivided. So if we want to, now to translate that, all of Google would be like if you were to put a fence around the property that is described. That is all the land. So if it says the northeast quarter of section 3, you could put a fence around the northeast quarter of section 3. You might not own 100% of the northeast quarter of section 3 because mineral interests and royalty interests act more like shares of stock. where you own a certain number of shares of the northwest quarter of section 3, or whatever I said before. So net acres, it's kind of like your shares of stock, but it's in acres instead of shares. So if it's 160 acres that is in the fence, and you own 10 net acres in that fenced area, then actually we'll use an even simpler number. We'll say 16, right? We'll make the numbers even simpler. It's 100 net acres. It's 100 acres in the fence. So you have a 100-acre ranch that's out in wherever, the boondocks. You have a 100-acre ranch, and you own 10% of it. So you have 10 net acres, because any money that 100-acre ranch puts out in terms of oil and gas royalties, you would get 10% of that. So that's 10 net acres, because 10% times 100 is 10. So that's net mineral acres. But as we learned from our first question, things can be leased at different rates. So if I have those 10 net acres leased at 25% royalty versus 12.5% royalty, I'm going to get twice as much money than if it was leased at the second rate. And we can even, these are not normal numbers, but let's say you get 20 cents on the dollar versus 10 cents on the dollar. You get twice as much money from every dollar that comes out of the ground, which is the royalty rate. So if you're getting a different amount than somebody else leased in that same area, let's say that there's brother and sister. They both have 10 net mineral acres in that 100-acre ranch. One, the sister, who's much smarter than the brother, right, definitely terrible gaming, you'd agree with this, I'm sure. The sister, who's much smarter, might have leased at 25% royalty, while the brother took the first lease that was thrown his way and leased at 20%. So for every dollar that's produced, they have their individual math that's happening for each one of those leases. So the sister gets 25 cents on the dollar for every barrel that's produced, and the brother gets 20 cents on the dollar for every barrel that's produced. So her 10 net mineral acres is worth more than his 10 net mineral acres. So because of that, there's a thing called a net royalty acre. So it's saying, okay, let's ignore the number of shares you have. We want to know how much they're worth, how much these acres are worth. So let's actually normalize to the royalty that they're receiving, and let's there's an arbitrary number that's picked. It's 12.5%, and it's what things all used to be leased at. So like really old leases that you can't find, it's a good assumption. The new things that you usually have more information on, it's easier to, you have the information to convert it. So that's why the 1/8 or the 12.5% was picked. But so it's all normalized to 12.5%. So the sister, who leased at 25%, that's twice as much as 12.5%. She'd have 20 net royalty acres. And I know I'm spitting out numbers, and nobody understands this. When if you were to say numbers to me without it being on the screen, I would be the same way. And it's a lot in order for me to try to make a diagram on the fly. But if I do happen to recap this video in its own little chunk for YouTube, I'll put graphics on the screen. So don't worry if you're not following along, but the sisters would be worth more. She would have more net royalty acres than the brother because it's normalized to higher value. So that's what a net royalty, there's an equation for that. It's mostly, I'm not even going to say the equation out loud because I've already spat out too many numbers, but it's, okay. Thank you. No, this is helping. Thank you. This actually clears it up for me. Or some. Sorry. There's a word got in the middle. Okay. Okay. So Mary says, our checks were lower than last month's. Is this typical? We're hoping this doesn't indicate a decrease in production of the wells. I have bad news for you, Mary. It's probably going to happen every month, honestly. The wells always decline, and if they're not declining, there's probably a reason. Let me grab a little graphic. Okay, so I'm just going to use this from last time. I need to change that little, with our new logo in the middle. So that's our old logo that swirls around. We have our new logo, which is much cooler, although I do like the old logo quite a bit. But the new logo, with all our new colors, I can't find the way that I made that old one. I can't figure out how I did it. I know I used a website where I like uploaded all the pieces and then it like spat out this movie of like the swirling, but I can't find that. So if you know of how to get to a really cool transition thing, or you want to create one for us, or like, I would love that, like a help on that part. I will eventually get, it's not the most important thing. I know, it's like the little things always get me. Okay. So if I go to here, if you notice the one common thing between older wells and newer wells, which is the vertical ones are typically the older wells and horizontal wells are typically the newer ones, they're both going down. So if the y-axis or the x-axis is time, every month, and every little dot is a month of production, every time it's pretty much going down. On average, maybe not every month, maybe you'll get some ups and downs in terms of volume, and you'll definitely get some ups and downs from commodity prices. Sometimes that hides the decline, or sometimes that exaggerates the decline. If commodity prices go down at the same time that your well is declining, it makes it look way worse. And if it goes up at the same time your well is declining, it might hide it, and you might actually get a higher check than last month. But it does go down. If your wells that you're getting paid on have an H at the end of them, this is the easiest way I know to explain, then they're probably a horizontal well, and you'll probably get less decline over time. Once you get past like about 4 years, you'll get a real slow, steady decline, but you'll have more decline up front. So it's going to feel really steep in the very beginning, the first year. While if there's not a letter, like an H, just for simplicity, it's the normal naming convention to put an H at the end of a horizontal well. Or like the last two letters, if one of those is an H. If that's not the case, or you've been being paid on this for more than 5 years, you'll probably just have a steady decline each month that feels about the same. But these are exponential logarithmic charts. So even though it looks like it's going to be the same volume decreasing each month, this is actually an exponential decline. So when someone says, oh, it's exponentially less, this is literally exponentially less every month. So yeah, sorry, that is the truth of the matter for most of this. We do have something, a great segue to the sponsor of this video, which is us. So, let's see. Gosh, I'm a nerd. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Let me go to here. On our website, we have, if you go to pecanestimate.com, which will be changing to app.pecantree, but it's a lot to do that. So for now, it's still pecanestimate.com. We're trying to unify things and simplify them a little more. If I go to one of my tracks, and this is in our portfolio option that we have. Let's see, which one should I go to? We'll do a nice West Texas one. Yeah, Steph's will be our example. So one thing we want to be able to convey is the interest, is the income going up or down based on what you're getting paid? So we want to be able to convey that. And so we have this new product called Pecan Insights, This is available for any tract that's built in through our Pecan Portfolio subscription. So this is a subscription thing. If you just have a couple tracks that you're wanting to watch this for, it's only, I think, $20 a month. So it starts very low, affordable if you just have a couple that you're watching. And then we can handle up to, thousands of tracks in a portfolio. So just contact us if you need to be in that more like high-end level. And then we have a core, which fits, I think it's like 150 tracks. So you probably know who you are if you have 150 tracks. All right, so you would get this for every single one of them. We have our value rating, which is for the people who don't have a good handle on if $10,000 an acre is good or bad. Like, I bet most of the people in the world would fall in this category of not having a very good handle on if $10,000 an acre was good or bad. The value rating converts that to stars. So 5 stars, great high value area, 1 star, super low value area. Like, this is not your highest and latest and greatest thing to look at. But the income outlook is what I want to point at. So the income outlook is saying, based on your last check that you had, what is the likelihood of for the next couple months, what's going to happen, or the next year or two, what's going to happen? And for this particular property, the most likely case is that things will actually be increasing. And that's not because the wells themselves are going to be producing more. It's because there's more wells that will be coming online, most likely. And for this one, there's a very high likelihood of increasing. So we have our little explanation of, why we think that. Volatility factor is, how certain are these, like how much can this amount change because of all the unknowns. And, we have a very good handle on what prices are and what things are, but there's just the nature of the beast is that no one can see underground. No one knows what wars will pop out in the next, 3 or 4 years. So there's a lot of unknowns still. And then growth potential is what's the likelihood of more wells coming online? So, and what's the likelihood of more stuff happening in the future? So this is like, it's a growth stock. There's probably more dividends coming your way, like if you want to think about it financial terms. And then this is our market value wave, as we call it, where you can see how mature if there's a life cycle for all these tracks, right? There's a life cycle to the industry. Things aren't producing, it's explored, they find something, they start testing it, they delineate the play, they call it. And then, things are going well, let's start developing it, let's put a couple wells on there. And so then you hit your development phase. And then they just, it's filling in the blanks, you're infill drilling, you're, finding the last bits to add in, tuck in wells that you can really exploit the reservoir. So you have your exploitation phase, and then you have your late life where, hey, we've tucked in as many wells as we can economically fit in there. We're just riding out the wave till it ends, until the wells die. Sometimes people call those stripper wells. I hate that term. It's so awkward to say. But it's the end of life brownfield. Like, there's a lot of different words for it, but it just means there's not any more drilling. So this particular one is riding the wave up. We're getting more development. We're getting more income. So if you were on that early part of the wave, you could get more over time. And if you weren't, it'd be getting less. So yeah, Fred, you are right. It's 103. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate the consistency of your tuning in. So it really helps me be more consistent too. Consistency in general is something I work on daily. So have a great week to you also, Fred. Have a great week to everyone else watching this. And let's see. I was going to do something else. What was it? Yeah, well, I guess that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed this, and I will look forward to seeing y'all next week. And same time, same place. I don't have anything scheduled for this time next week. When does school start? I'll have to see when school starts, but I don't think this time of day is going to be affected by that. I just want to walk my daughter to school and pick her up on the first day. And I know it's coming up soon. I'll have to look, but I don't think that's the case, and I will see y'all next week, same time, same